Hi guys, welcome to another Geeky Gadget guide. Today's tutorial is an introduction to Microsoft Excel, and we'll be finishing off with the creation of a very quick table. So go ahead and open Excel and click Blank Workbook. In front of you, you will see a rather large table full of lots and lots of columns and lots of rows. These columns and rows go on for what it seems like forever. These little squares are known as cells and shall be referred to as cells. The ID of this cell here that I'm clicked on is 16O or O16. So it's easy to know which cell we're referring to because all the columns have letters as a header and all the rows have numbers. So if someone says J10, I would know that it's column J and row 10, which would lead me to this cell here. And you can see they're just slightly darker to let me know that that's the row and that's the column that's been selected there with that cell. This is very important because much later on, when you come to use sums, the way we specify each cell is by its ID, and its ID will be the letter and the number that it's using. Now, your mouse cursor is very important, as always, really, not just in Excel, but particularly for this tutorial. If I move my cursor up, you can see that it changes to a black downward-facing arrow, which means I'm going to select that whole row. If I move it to the left, it goes to a black right-facing arrow, and that tells me that I'm going to select the whole row. There are various different cursors that you'll notice as we move along, and I'll point them out and their uses as we go. Now, the cells have a default format. If I click on this one here and I type in the number 123 and then hit enter, it will take me to the row below, and that's just stored as a number. In my home menu, under the number format drop down list, it just says general. Now, if I change that to a currency, for instance, it would then put a pound sign before the 123 and then put a .00, and that gives me a currency format. If I change it to a date, it would change it to a date. Its algorithm has made sense of that number and turned it into a date. I'm not sure how it does this. I'm sure there's a tutorial on YouTube somewhere which explains why the numbers change to various dates. I'm not sure how 123 or 123 pounds and no pence turned into the 2nd of May 1900, but I'm sure it makes sense to Microsoft Excel. If we change it to text, it formats it on the left-hand side because in the Western world, we write from the left to the right. And that's the basics for now. I'm just going to change that back to general. And then I'm going to click on that cell and just tap delete on my keyboard, which deletes everything in the cell. Just like a website, we have an address field just above. Just like when you visit a website, you type the address in and then you look at the results below. When I type something into a cell, you can see it appears here. And actually, I can do that the other way around. So I can just choose a cell and then I can put my cursor up here and then type up here and it appears there. This is where I would write any sums, which we will get to shortly. Now let's enter some data so that we can play with it. So we're going to make a table about how many socks we've got. So here I'm going to make this first row my header row. So I'm going to put what colour the socks are. So the amount of red socks I've got. I need to know how many blue socks I've got, how many yellow socks I've got and how many green socks I've got. Last time I counted, I had 9 pairs of red socks. I had 15 pairs of blue socks. I had 3 pairs of yellow socks. And I had 6 pairs of green socks. Now there is my first table. I can make this a little bit prettier by maybe changing this to a bolded headers. So I'm going to click the entire row by moving my mouse to the number 1 row and clicking there. And then I'm going to move them all to the middle by clicking my center justification. And then I'm going to bold them all. I'm then going to fill just these 4 cells. So rather than do the whole row, I've clicked here and dragged across all 4 and then let go of the clicker. And then I'm going to go up here to my fill tool and I'm just going to choose a nice grey there so it's not too in your face. I'm then going to change these 4 cells to be center formatted. So again, click the first one, drag your mouse across to the last entry, go to my center justification and click center. And there we go. We've got a very nice, neat table that lets us know how many red socks we've got, blue socks, yellow socks and green socks. Now I could make that even more elaborate. I could say, well, this one, let's have that writing in red. And let's have the background in a not such a red colour maybe, but just a sort of pinky orange. The blue one I could then change to a lovely blue font and then change that to a nice light blue. And a very light green for the background. There we go, that's a bit more colourful. And if I print this, I might decide that actually I want to fill in this by hand once I go through my stock list of how many socks I've got. So what I could do is say, well, let's have about 20 entries there. So I go down to row 20. And then because I've got this selected and I clicked the first cell and dragged it over as far as I want to go there, and then let go of the mouse clicker and that stays selected. And then just along from the bold, italic and underline section, there is a border button. Don't click the actual button itself, click the drop down arrow and then choose which one you want. And I think what I'm going to do is go all borders, please, which puts a line through all the cells. Perfect. Now I need to print this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the last cell here, drag across, so select it all again. And then I'm going to set my print area so it doesn't print all of this other stuff here. It only prints my selection. So if I go to page layout menu at the top, and where it says print area, click that and click set print area. So I've now told it that the area that I want to print is this selected area. So if I now hit the print button, you can see that what it's going to print is this. And then I can scale it up a little bit. There we are. And there is my table ready to go. Once I print that, I can then use it to count how many socks I've got of each colour. Now, it might be that I want to add up how many socks I've got in total. So let's put an extra column here. So I'm going to select up to here. I'm going to go back to my home menu and I'm going to click my border button. And then in the top there, I'm going to write total. And it appears in bold because when we first bolded this row, we clicked here and it selected all. So anything I write in any of these fields will always appear bold. Now, a quick way to add up 9, 15, 3 and 6 is to put my cursor here and then click on the auto sum button just here. In the address bar above, that puts an equal sum and then puts brackets A2 colon D2 close brackets. That means it's going to add up A2 and all in between A2 and D2. It's done it for me. So all I have to do now is hit the Enter key on my keyboard. And that has told me I have a total of 33 socks. And if I put my cursor, if I click this cell, even though it displays a 33, this sum behind is detailed up here so I can see how it got that number, where it's getting that information from. Now, I might decide that I need to know how many of each colour socks I've got on certain days of the week. If so, I'll need to add an extra column. But rather than putting one at the end, I need to insert one before this A column. So all you have to do to insert an extra column, click the A column. So it highlights the entire column. And then use your alternate mouse button to right click it. This gives you a sub-menu and we're going to click Insert. And because we'd highlighted a column, it assumes we want to insert a column. If we did the same thing on a row, if I highlighted an entire row and right-clicked it and went Insert, it simply adds an extra row. Now I can type in here day, and of course it's bolded because even though it's a new column, it's still, the row was highlighted when I bolded them all, so it assumes the same. So let's type the days of the week in here. So if I type Monday in here and press enter to go to the one underneath, I can then write Tuesday. It's a bit of a task to have to type it all out. So what I could do is highlight these two. And then where you see this small little green square at the bottom right-hand corner of the Excel cell, your cursor will change to a black cross, which means it's going to fill when I click and drag. So it's going to follow the pattern that I've told it by doing 2, Monday, Tuesday. So if I drag down Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the days of the week appear until I stop. Once I let go of the mouse button, it fills everything in for me. Rather handy, eh? Now this is a little bit untidy because Wednesday's got more letters in it than most. So in order for it to fit nicely, if I move my cursor to the top, to that column, and then move it to the line at the side of the column and simply double click, it automatically sizes the column to the largest cell entry. Now if I highlight this, go to my border button and click it, I now have day of the week and the entries in there. A rather smart table. If that's what I want to print next time I print, I've got to highlight it all, go to page layout, click print area, set print area, and then when I go to print, I need to change the scaling now. So custom scaling, let's put it to 150. That should fit it all on there nicely. Perfect. And then if I go to page setup, go to margins, I can say, can you please center that horizontally on the page? If I did it vertically, it would appear right in the middle, but I don't mind it being further at the top. And then click OK. And once I print, that's what it will look like. Now, if I want to be able to use this table at a later date and not have to keep putting a sum in, what I can do is move my cursor to the bottom right-hand corner again of this cell, which has got the sum in it, till it changes to the black cross. And then when I pull it down, it's copying the sum. So then if I put 6, 32, 48, 17 in here, it's added that up to 103 without me doing anything. So if I now save that, that's a useful table for me to use whenever I need it. That's all today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, please like and subscribe to find out when we release another video. Take care. Bye-bye.